We've got a lot to discuss on this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. Let's talk about the No Kings protests setting records across the country. It was the largest day of mass mobilization of peaceful protests in the history of this country. That enraged Donald Trump, who responded by posting AI videos of himself defecating on peaceful protesters in Manhattan, including mothers with their baby and children. It was absolutely disgusting, and we'll talk about that and more. I also want to talk about Donald Trump demolishing the East Wing of the White House today with bulldozers after Donald Trump saying that the 90,000 square foot golden ballroom would have no impact on the existing structure of the White House. As we were saying on the MeidasTouch network, that was a lie. We were calling it out. We're saying, nope, he can't do that without demolishing the East Wing. And people are like, he's not going to demolish the East Wing, and it's okay. He's just having private companies pay for it. I said, well, first of all, Donald Trump originally said that he was going to be the sole person to pay for it. Number two, we have something called like the Constitution and appropriations. You can't just have private companies pay for things that are the province of Congress. This is the people's house. It belongs to we the people. And Donald Trump just goes and sends bulldozers and cranes and starts destroying the East Wing. It's patently unlawful. For months now, I've been saying lawsuits need to be filed to stop this. No lawsuit, as far as I know, was filed to stop this because of Donald Trump's fraud in saying that he was going to pay for it and that it wasn't going to in any way touch upon the existing structure. I still think there's a hook for someone to file a lawsuit on this now, but somebody needs to take action because this is the people's house, and this is symbolic of Donald Trump's destruction of our democracy. And to see the White House be destroyed like that is absolutely horrible. I want to also talk about Donald Trump being called out by the president of Colombia, President Gustavo Petro, for Donald Trump engaging in war crimes. Donald Trump had killed innocent fishermen, career fishermen, according to Colombian President Gustavo Petro, in Donald Trump's military strikes in the Caribbean. You will also recall that the four-star admiral, Admiral Halsey, who was in charge of Southern Command, which is Latin America, Caribbean region, he quit last week, suddenly, 1 year into his tenure, which is unheard of for someone who leads Southern Command. And it's almost certainly because Donald Trump has been committing these war crimes. We also have learned about potentially innocent victims of Trinidad and Tobago who were killed as well. There were 2 survivors recently from a strike who were then repatriated into other countries, which doesn't really square itself with Donald Trump saying that these individuals are war criminals who need to die immediately. And even if these individuals were drug dealers, which, again, I don't think they are, what was the Department of Homeland Security Rapid Response Team or one of those people, they were posting images of like drugs caught in 2024, like in Spain, like having nothing to do with it. Like, look what we captured. It's like, that's not even the right incident at all that they were posting. But even if it were to be drug dealers, you have to like have trials. You can't just go and kill people. Like, do y'all remember when George W. Bush was in office, one of the biggest scandals was Abu Ghraib and torturing people by waterboarding them, and what a massive big deal that was, and rightfully so, that we would torture individuals who we believe to be, war criminals and treat them that way. Remember how that was the scandal? Trump's just straight up killing people like what, and posting the death videos online. So I want to talk about that in the proper context. I also want to talk about the more we're learning about this Oval Office private meeting, not the one that took place in public between Zelenskyy and Donald Trump, where 24 hours after Donald Trump spoke with Putin, exactly what we predicted here on the MeidasTouch Network happened, which was Trump laundered the Putin talking points, told Zelenskyy, you need to give up all of Donbass. You need to just do what Putin tells you to do. Give up now. Apparently Trump was like showing Zelenskyy the maps that Putin always shows about why he thinks this land belongs to Putin. Zelenskyy was standing his ground, but then Trump said, no long-range weapons for you. We're not imposing sanctions on Russia. And Donald Trump's like fully siding with Putin right now, which was something easy to predict. The ceasefire in the Middle East continues to fall apart. Dozens of dead Palestinians are being reported as a result of Israeli strikes in southern Gaza. Hamas has reasserted control, and they're engaged in mass executions as well of rivals and other individuals in Gaza. You have Benjamin Netanyahu and his finance minister Smotrich. They're out there saying that they do not support a two-state solution. Smotrich is saying we need to build more settlements in Gaza right now. There were additional strikes that took place by the Israeli IDF in Lebanon. And so basically, we're not in a ceasefire right now. I don't know what else to describe what's going on there. Also, some major court updates as well. A bad update from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, where there were 2 Trump judges and 1 Clinton judge, which reviewed that district court case where a Trump-appointed district court judge in Portland, Oregon, said this is not a war zone. You can't invent your own facts and say this is a war zone, Donald Trump, to put the troops into Portland, Oregon, the National Guard. Well, these 2 Trump-appointed judges on the court above, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, said, no, Donald Trump, you can make up your facts. You can, whatever you say goes, even if it's not a war zone. And those 2 Trump judges said, we agree, it's not a war zone. But they said, if Trump says it's a war zone, then it becomes a war zone. That was basically their ruling. And what a scathing dissent. The dissent said, we hope that the full panel of Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal judges steps in immediately while there's still some belief that courts may exist in the United States. What a dissent to read. We'll talk about that and more. A very long intro. Sorry about that, brothers. Great to see you. But I had to get all of that out of
Save it for the pod, man. Save it for the pod. We got a lot of time. We can break it all down. It's all good. It's good to be here, Midas Mighty. Great to be here, everybody. Great to be here, Ben, Jordy. What a weekend. What an inspiring weekend. First, I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody who attended the No Kings protests, everybody who was out there with their signs, who was protesting peacefully. You all really made a statement. And if you weren't able to make it, like, don't feel bad about yourself at all. I appreciate everybody who was uplifting content, who was spreading the word online. I met so many incredible people out there at the No Kings protest by me. It was so inspiring. I want to thank everybody who came up to me, everybody who said hello. And now I think the Trump administration honestly was really rattled by what happened yesterday. And you could see that in their reaction, their really desperate reaction to the protests. And like, call me old fashioned when I'm watching all of this happen, but I don't think the president and the vice president and the speaker of the House and an entire political party should be making more than half the country into their enemies, who are supposed to be mocked and derided and terrorized with military and everything that they're doing right now. It shows that they just don't care about actually being leaders for the country. They care about being leaders for their small little cult, and they want to inflict pain on the rest of the country. And in fact, I think their reactions to the protests show exactly why we all showed up for those protests and made history and set records. I'm excited to get into all the news here on today's episode, but I first got to toss it over to Jordy. Jordy, what's the latest?
What's up? Hey, let me just start there, Brett, because I want to say this. There is nothing more American and nothing more patriotic than what we witnessed this weekend. The millions of Americans, millions, who took to the streets over the weekend to have their voices heard at their respective No Kings protests. I mean, we all saw the videos online, the photos online. These were peaceful protests all across the country over the weekend. It was epic. And then you have Speaker Johnson today, Tiny Johnson, up on that podium, calling it the Hate America rally. What are we even doing here? Like, corporate media, y'all are always so quick to take the MAGA framing for everything and go on your evening programs and say, oh, we just have to tone down the temperature in this country. We need to tone down the rhetoric. When y'all are trying to pin things on the Democratic Party, but the leaders of the Republican Party, the leaders are calling peaceful protests the Hate America rally and crickets. I mean, can you even begin to understand just the target that puts on the people's backs that take to the streets to peacefully protest? Or do you just not care? The hypocrisy, brothers, Midas Mighty, of corporate media and how they treat the Republican leadership, it's just astonishing. And then, Ben, something you mentioned earlier, Donald Trump, apparently he's just allowed to post a video of himself literally taking a shit on America, taking a shit on Harry Sisson, a private citizen. And oh, that's just Donnie being Donnie. Look how much he loves America. Like, he's shitting on the citizens and corporate media. Do y'all understand the target that Trump just put on that kid's back? And do you all understand how completely beneath the office posts like that are? And if any other president in the history of this country were to do that, that there would be immediate outcry from all of the legacy medias out there for the 25th Amendment, and rightfully so. I know you do here listening to this podcast, and I'm here just to say, don't be gaslit by corporate media who continues to try and sane wash this behavior. You are, in fact, witnessing exactly what you think you are. And this utterly insane behavior from the Republican leadership and our corporate news entities to normalize any of this behavior, it's disgusting, and it needs to be called out every day. But again, congrats to everyone who was peacefully protesting over the weekend and making your voices heard. That was incredible.
By the way, I think our researchers look through all the Sunday shows. You know, the Sunday shows, they're supposed to be able to like recount the day's news, and they always end up bringing on all these Republican figures and stuff, all those various shows on the networks. And not one of those shows asked about that post by Trump. Like not a single one of the shows asked about it. And one of the crazy things is when you see like the way they kind of rationalize it too in the media. I saw like not to name names, but Jake Tapper did like an Instagram video, you know, where he was like, and Donald Trump posted this video of, pooping on people. And like the way he framed it was like, that's just Donald being Donald, you know, that's just his personality, you know, just he's got personality flaws. What are you going to do? I mean, this is the guy who relentlessly went after Biden in like the most heinous of ways, just writing this off as like a personality flaw and not a much deeper, more troubling thing that we are witnessing. And we just went through weeks and weeks and weeks of this Republican Party saying that because Democrats and anybody who's pro-democracy in this world, independence, because people call Donald Trump rightfully an authoritarian, that they were to blame for Charlie Kirk's murder, that they are to blame for any incident of political violence that happens. And then this past week, all of these Republicans, one after the next, start saying all the people who are trying to stand up to this regime, all of them, they are part of the Hate America rally. They are Antifa, domestic terrorists. Like the language that they used was so inflammatory and so irresponsible, coming from not just like fringe figures or like followers of the Republican Party or MAGA people, but the leadership in the party. And I think it deserves a lot more scorn. I think it deserves a lot more introspection as a country as to who these people really are, what this leadership is, a very Soviet, Russian, kind of North Korean style spin that they are putting on everything. It is so incredibly disturbing.
It's why the phrase I talk about so frequently on this podcast is moral clarity. We have to act with moral clarity, and we have to establish that there needs to be some sort of floor when it comes to who should be leaders. And not just that we shouldn't normalize this behavior, but the level of condemnation, the level of outrage that we should show to this behavior needs to be congruous with the behavior and the conduct. Like, this would not be okay if this was in a small business, a medium-sized business, a large corporation, a nonprofit, a social group. If people behave this way, I mean, you would hopefully say that someone would call this out. How could someone be a leader who's posting videos of themselves defecating on the faces of little babies and mothers and people who are out there doing something peacefully and then say, ha, 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 I owned you. How funny is that? You'd be like, yo, this person's a maniac. But ultimately, this is the person who's leading the United States of America, and in a very bad direction. And it's pervading so much as well in this corrosive and destruction that we're seeing of our country. And its leadership in the world is absolutely fading away. When you see the war crimes taking place in the Caribbean, when you see just the way the world order is being restructured, with America becoming weaker and weaker by the day. And I just think we need to call this behavior out. And Brett, it's a great point that they don't even talk about that once on the weekend shows. And even when they asked MAGA Mike about it earlier today, and MAGA Mike responded, well, you know, that's just how he is. And I think he uses social media, good. Like at that point, the media should just walk out on the guy or stand up and like yell at him and be like, seriously? Like, you actually think that's okay? Like, are you a pathetic human being? Like, how do you live with yourself? Like, show the actual outrage, because I'm raising a 1-year-old little girl right now in the United States of America, and the freaking president of the United States is posting videos of himself shitting on people's faces. Like, how am I supposed to explain that to my little girl? I mean, Jordy's raising a boy, Brett's raising a boy, people watching here, you have kids, grandkids. How are we supposed to explain to generations that the freaking president of the United States posts videos of himself taking shits on human beings while actually engaging in war crimes in the Caribbean, while behaving in this way? I mean, think about this. We mentioned, the target that Donald Trump puts on people's heads doing that. How about the target that Donald Trump put on the heads of these young black men who posted a video back in June when America struck Iran, and they posted a patriotic video on TikTok? There was a trend where people were basically saying that they and their friends were going to stand with the United States against Iran when America was striking Iran with B-2 bombers, which, by the way, was a total failure. It didn't actually get rid of Iran's nuclear material. Iran's been able to rebuild, and they're actually stronger than ever. It was another performative theater, another Fugazi by Donald Trump. But the trend was people would respond and they would say things like, "You've seen what we can do. Don't say something that you can't finish, Iran. We united we stand. We want all the smoke." So a group of young black men, they made this video and they posted it on TikTok, and then they wore a mask to actually stand up for the United States of America. Then the Department of Homeland Security manipulates the video. They change the caption that was on it so that the caption reads, "ICE, we're on the way. Word in the streets, cartels put a $50,000 bounty on y'all." That's not what these young men posted. The Department of Homeland Security just fabricated it to put a target on these young black men's head, is what's really going on. And then in their caption, the Homeland Security Department goes, "Fuck around and find out. If you threaten or lay hands on our law enforcement officers, we will hunt you down and you will find out real quick. We'll see you cowards soon." Hunting down young black men. But isn't that basically Donald Trump's life? Isn't Donald Trump's story? It's why moral character matters. It's why when we pointed out before, as many others did, that Donald Trump's past was being a racist, and he would call for the death penalty against black men who were innocent of their crimes. He would discriminate against people in his apartments, that this is who he was. And now they're bringing it here in our government in such a vile and disgusting way. And then throughout the weekend, Trump just kept on posting images of himself and J.D. Vance wearing crowns over and over again. And then the stupid sombrero thing that they post with Hakeem Jeffries and Leader Schumer in the Senate. And it's like, the government is shut down right now. And by the way, there is no path really to even have it opened, because the Republicans in the House refuse to even speak with the Democrats, yet alone negotiate with them. Donald Trump likes that healthcare is being ripped away from 20 million Americans. When you look at the stats, the letters that people are getting, that their monthly premiums are going from $100, few $100 to $2,000 a month for their healthcare plans, they're going to go bankrupt. They can't afford the plan. And so millions and millions of Americans will lose their health care and likely die as a result of what Trump and the Republicans are doing. And meanwhile, they're building this ballroom, gutting the freaking White House with bulldozers. And by the way, Trump said that he was going to pay for it, but he ain't paying for it. Yet another fraud and a lie. We're giving $40 billion to Argentina. And Trump's like, yeah, they're in a crisis. We need to save Argentina. Like they really need it. Our farmers are screwed here, are going bankrupt. Construction, manufacturing, we're in a massive manufacturing and construction recession. Americans across the country right now, unless you're a billionaire, are suffering. And this is what they're doing. This is their behavior. They're posting images of Schumer and Jeffries in princess outfits. And look, I like to think that I have a sense of humor, brothers. I don't find it funny when my countrymen are going to be dying. My countrymen and women and countrywomen are dying as a result of this behavior. It's sickening behavior. Let me just show you, just to remind you, when we talk about this ballroom, what Donald Trump said. When Donald Trump said that he was going to pay for it, this was back in August when he started talking about it. Here he is on Fox when he's asked, how many donors to get to 200 million, 250 million? Watch what Trump says. Let's play it.
How many donors do you think it's going to take to get to 200 million?
Maybe one, me.
But you would cut that check yourself?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
No, you wouldn't. You're a fraud. You're a liar. When we called him such at that time, we said, that's a fraud. That's a lie. He's not going to pay for it. So then he went, remember, he was walking that day on top of the White House, and he popped out on the roof of the White House that day. And he talked about building nuclear weapons on top of the White House. But then he talked about, that I'm going to buy all of this. I'm spending my money. This is my money that I'm spending for you. And he was ostensibly talking about the ballroom. Here, just remember this. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Taking a little walk. Come out and talk to us. Good for your health.
Are you going to blow up
I
there?
Something beautiful.
What does that mean?
What do you? More ways to spend my money.
Can you give us another thing?
We'll show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country. Anything I do is financed by me, so where it's contributed. Just like my salary is contributed, and nobody ever mentions that.
Then when he held an event regarding the ballroom in the last week or so, he had all of his right-wing oligarchs there, and he said, $25 million from each of you, 25 mil. Here, play this clip.
Very much in keeping, and we'll be able to have state dinners, the kind we would literally not even have state dinners because it's not set up. But for all those years they wanted it, and now they're going to get it. And because of you, they're going to get it. And me too. We're all in this together. And I mean, I have so many friends, and so many of you have been really, really generous. I mean, a couple of you, I'm sitting here saying, sir, would $25 million be appropriate? I said, I'll take it. It doesn't take too many 25s to get it done. But a lot of you have been really fantastic. Ike, thank you very much. You were great. You were great, Ike Perlmutter.
Zero transparency here. We don't know what quid pro quos are taking place. This is very illegal. You can't just have private companies replace Congress and the Congress appropriations functions. The law is very clear. If you're making any type of structural, it's not even like a dispute. If you're making any type of structural change or alteration, it has to be done through Congress. There's a government shutdown now. He just sent bulldozers to destroy the White House right now before our eyes. Desecrated. The East Wing desecrated today. And I don't know. I don't even have the words to capture like how shameful of a day this is in American history.
It's insane. And when you look at that image, it's like what I said online, tearing down the White House, this picture right here, I think is going to become one of the defining pictures of the Trump regime. It's like just the perfect visual metaphor for the Trump regime completely destroying this country. We get to see it in this way. And this has to be completely illegal. I mean, it's blatantly illegal, as you said. The White House is a federal property. It's a National Historic Landmark. There are strict regulations on this. There's the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. Think about it like an apartment, right? If you all move into an apartment, if you live in an apartment, you could put things on the walls, you could move things around, you could put your own furniture in, you could do all that stuff. You can't take a bulldozer and start knocking the place down and decide to build your own thing. And I think it kind of shows that Donald Trump really has no intention of leaving this place. It's really the perfect encapsulation of his corruption, of the quid pro quo deals that he cuts with these various corporations. It shows just how much of a corporatocracy our nation has become, which I would say it's honestly been for a while, but especially under Donald Trump, you see how these corporations bend the knee and how when they want a say in policy, they make these agreements with Donald Trump for some of the most corrupt dealings that we've ever seen in our nation's history. I mean, it's just an absolute disgrace. And that's why, when we do this reporting here, every single day. The stories all sound more outrageous than the next, right? When we were reporting that they were going to be firing over the I-5 in California, that sounded outrageous. When we are posting pictures of the White House being demolished and we say they're demolishing the East Wing of the White House, that sounds outrageous. And a lot of people's reaction to that is to go, whoa, you guys are exaggerating. What's the major breaking news here? Oh, you said you had major breaking news. What's the what else? What could be bigger than all these stories that we are saying right now? I think people get far too comfortable in this news environment when chaotic stuff is happening that they start to think that all this is just normal. What's the big news? And we can't be numb to everything that is going on in this administration, because to me, that's the problem that we're seeing with much of the corporate media out there, is they treat this all like it is freaking normal, and none of this is normal at all. To Ben's point, we got to be calling them out on their shit. They're lying every day. They're treating this country like it's the Soviet Union. They are quite literally shitting on the American people in these memes and in reality, and we can't stand for it. We can't just sit here and go, oh, everything's normal. This is just America as usual, because it's absolutely not.
So well said, B. I just want to reiterate in plain English here. Donald Trump demolished the East Wing of the White House today. Now, let's play everybody's favorite game here. Imagine if Biden did it. I can't even begin to fathom the outrage by Fox News and all those entities, those right-wing entities. They freaked out over Obama's tan suit. Donald Trump took a sledgehammer to the East Wing of the White House today. A bulldozer, just boof. Gone for a ballroom. And Brett, you bring up such an excellent point as well. You know, I've never known anyone to do a bathroom renovation in their house or a kitchen remodeling, and if they had the intention on moving out, let alone put in an entire ballroom, new wing of the White House. It's really striking stuff. And again, B, to your point, the normalization of all of this erratic, insane behavior and just washing it off as Donnie being Donnie. There's nothing that pisses me off more than that. I mean, we all should be collectively outraged by that image that Brett just put on the screen right there. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and then he held a press conference with the LSU baseball team that won the championship. And while the government's in a shutdown right now, right, while people are being laid off, while so many Americans are suffering, and as people are afraid, rightfully so, they're going to lose their health care, he's talking about drinks and cocktails. Ooh, that's going to be so great. The caviar, the steaks, the drinks, the cocktails, everybody. Like the freaking Great Gatsby. I mean, what are we watching? I mean, this is what he said today. Here, play this clip.
You know, we're building right behind us. We're building a ballroom. They've wanted a ballroom for 150 years. And I'm giving that honor to this wonderful place. I think we should do it. This was the ballroom. And this room holds 88 people. And the new one will hold 999 people, which is a difference. I say 999 because I didn't want to crack 1,000. I didn't want people to get concerned because that's getting big. But we're going to have, we'll have the most beautiful ballroom in the country. It's going up. And for those that are interested, we got to get back to baseball. But you see the gold drapes? That's a knockout panel. We knock it in. You go. That comes out. And then you have essentially glass and exactly in the decor of the White House. I didn't know I'd be standing here right now because right on the other side, you have a lot of construction going on, which you might hear periodically. But that's a knockout panel, and that goes right into the ballroom, and the ballroom's going to be beautiful. So you'll have drinks, cocktails, everything on this floor, and then they'll say, welcome to dinner. You walk into the ballroom, Mr. Senators, and you're going to see a ballroom the likes of which I don't think it'll be topped. It'll be the finest. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It just started. And it just started today, so that's good luck. We want the same luck that they had and the same talent.
So let me just send this message to anybody who has the standing to sue, to the law firms that are out there, to the state attorney generals. Go and seek an injunction to block this construction. The argument that you should make is that Donald Trump engaged in fraud in saying that he alone was going to pay for it and that it wasn't going to impact in any way the existing structure. The emergency basis for your injunction is the photograph that we showed, that they just damaged the actual White House and they're destroying the East Wing, which is a violation. Get a court to enjoin or block further construction until such time as there's discovery in a transparent way who is funding this thing. Make the order, demand discovery, and then address the issues of the illegality, that it is a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution. That's the argument you need to make. Go and make it. I'm someone who leads a media network, okay? I'm not a practicing lawyer anymore. I don't do these things anymore. But please, somebody who's watching this, okay? Do what I just said, and do it because it's the patriotic thing to do, and it's the right thing to do because laws are being violated right now by Trump as a result of this destruction of the White House. Got it? Let's take our first quick break of the show. Everybody hit subscribe here. Become a member of this YouTube channel if you can. It helps when you become a member or gift memberships. It goes a real long way to helping grow this media platform. So just click join and then gift memberships to as many people as you can. Subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast wherever you get your audio podcasts. Leave 5 stars reviews there. That's really helpful to us as well when you leave 5-star reviews. So let's take our first quick break of the show. We'll be right back with much more after this quick break.
My teeth are very important to me. Healthy mouth, healthy life, right? Well, if you're part of the 30% of Americans who grind their teeth, then your smile needs protection. And there's no better solution than Remy's custom fit night guard. Both dentists and teeth grinders recommend Remy because the custom fit night guard is the best way to protect your teeth. And Remy is 80% less than the dentist and way easier. Here's how it works. You receive your impression kit straight to your door. Remy gives you step-by-step instructions to get your perfect impression. Remy ships you your custom fit night guard made in the US in Las Vegas. Get your night guard back and start protecting your teeth. This process is easy and very streamlined. Their entire team is really invested in making sure that you get the best product possible. The best part is Remy is so confident you'll get a perfect fit that they offer a 45-night perfect fit guarantee or your money back. No waiting rooms, no overpriced bills, just a better way to protect your teeth while you sleep. Try Remy risk-free at shopremy.com/Meidas and use code Meidas to get up to 50% off your night guard at checkout. That's 50% off at shopremy, REMI.com/Meidas with code Meidas. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode. I have to tell you about this game-changing product I use before a night with drinks. It's called Pre-Alcohol. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Now here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on having a great next day without worrying. So I first gave pre-alcohol a try when I was at a wedding over the summer. I drank it before my first cocktail, and you wouldn't believe how on top of my game I felt the very next morning. Now fall is right around the corner, so that means it's time to raise a glass to your favorite team. Whether you're tailgating, enjoying a college game day, or watching Sunday's action on that fancy new TV, don't forget ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. Drink a pre-alcohol before drinking and enjoy great days after celebrating all season long. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Click the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, before I toss it back to you too, I just want to give a special shout out to all of our listeners here at the MeidasTouch Network, because we got some exciting news, brothers and Meidas Mighty. From the months of September to October, the MeidasTouch Network has officially been named the #1 publisher in the country per Podscribe Analytics. So that means that the MeidasTouch Network it outperformed every major media company. That includes Spotify, iHeartMedia, SiriusXM, Wondery, the New York Times. This is based off of the total combined podcast downloads and video views across YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, and RSS feeds, which means audio feeds, over the past 30 days. And so I'm saying that as a thank you to the listeners, to the viewers out there who continue to support independent media and especially the MeidasTouch Network. None of that is possible without y'all. So you guys should be friggin' super proud of everything that you've been able to do to make us the collective us, the #1 publisher and network in the country. So thank you guys.
I want to give a special shout out to that end, Jordy, to our editorial team here as well. Their impeccably sourced stories have been some of the most impactful during this Trump regime. And just this past week, Aaron Parnas, I think, wrote an incredible story about the artillery, the live munitions that were going to be shot over the I-5 by the Trump regime, by the Navy as part of this Marine event that was just announced in the past 2 weeks, that these live munitions were going to be shot over the I-5. It was going to pose a very big safety risk. So the I-5 would likely have to be shut down, and it would be these munitions would be shot onto Camp Pendleton over the I-5 highway, which never happens before. That's not a normal thing. Let's be very clear. And I know Aaron Parnas and MeidasTouch got a lot of grief for the story that we posted last Wednesday when we broke the story about what was going to happen. Then Snopes did a big fact check and basically called us liars because they adopted Trump's framing. This was a pre-planned event. This happens all the time.
But let me talk about that for a second, because I do want to talk about this Snopes thing that's going on. And because their whole thing was that, MeidasTouch says that they had, unnamed sources who were able to, verify that this is what was going on over the weekend here. And yeah, like that's how things work. Anonymous sources are an essential part of journalism. We had multiple corroborating anonymous sources, this bizarre push by people to say, okay, name them, name your sources, out your sources. Like in what world of journalism is that something that's required or is demanded of any publication ever? But for some reason, Snopes wants to hold us to a higher standard. They did this story. Their story was inconclusive, but they gave the Trump administration the benefit of the doubt. They said, we see this statement from the U.S. Marines that they released saying that they would never be shooting anything over the freeway and that there's going to be no need for any shutdowns of the freeway. The Trump administration has said this is fake news. Therefore, we just don't know. MeidasTouch says it, but they don't like Trump. And so take that with a grain of salt. But then you have Trump saying he's not going to do it. So we're inclined to believe that story. Okay, that's it. Okay, all good. And to me, it's just so offensive. It goes against what journalism actually is. And if you yourself can't do the legwork and actually follow leads and follow sources, develop sources, get corroborating sources, just because you're unable to do that part does not make the factual story that you are trying to quote unquote fact check true or untrue. Like at a certain point, you need to understand. And so as everything developed, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse as we saw what was happening here in the state of California. Governor Gavin Newsom ultimately had to consult with public safety experts. He had to shut down 17 miles of the Interstate 5, the I-5 freeway out here in Southern California, because he said this is dangerous. This is a dangerous thing for them to be shooting live munitions over the freeway. Then all the Trump people, the same people who places like Snopes were citing in their reports, were going fake news. There's no need. Look at Gavin Newsom. He's overreacting. He wants to shut down the freeway to blame Trump, blah, 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 blah. And so luckily Newsom did in fact listen to the public safety experts. He shuts down the freeway. They end up doing this ridiculous stunt that was apparently all designed so that JD Vance could get a cool video for his TikTok. That's where this ended up, on his little TikTok feed. And when they did it, of course, a live round prematurely exploded in the air as it was going over the I-5 freeway. The shrapnel hit a police car that was actually in J.D. Vance's like motorcade, like bringing him around, damaged the vehicle. The entire freeway, it was rained down with artillery, with like these shells and shrapnel and stuff. And had Governor Newsom not taken the action that he took, people gotten killed, like injured or far, far, far worse. And so honestly, like one of the reasons why I get extra annoyed when it's something like Snopes, not to keep picking on them, but people view them as kind of sacrosanct. People view them as like they are the arbiters of what is true and what is false. So when they wrote that article, even though they did not make a definitive determination, the implication was that the story was false in the way they wrote the piece. And so we had to field dozens and dozens of emails from people who would say, I can't believe you made up that story. I can't believe you lied. Snopes said you're liars. I used to trust you. Now I want to cancel my subscription. I'm not listening to the podcast anymore. I'm blocking you. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Snopes doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. And so they actually did real damage in the situation. Thankfully, the authorities did not listen to them because people could have gotten killed due to their fact check. But the fact is, this happened. It was even worse than we anticipated, actually. I'm damn proud of our editorial team. I'm proud of Aaron for following those leads, for getting his sourcing, for getting the story right. And once again, shame on the Trump administration for these stunts, and shame on the legacy media and anybody who tries to normalize this crap and tries to pretend like we live in normal times when we do not live in normal times.
If you can't tell, we're very passionate about this. We are because we know what goes on behind the scenes here at the network and the incredible amount of well-researched and well-sourced material that goes into every single story that we put out. So it's not us like bullying anybody when we try and correct it for the record, but it's just us making sure that everyone understands like, hey, we have the sources, we're doing the work.
Well, there's the thing, they use it to try to discredit you in other means. Exactly. That's why it's so nefarious. So they'll take that story, someone will like throw it on your Wikipedia page. They'll say, look, when they spread this fake news, somebody else writes an article. Like it becomes a part of your identity when they do that
exactly.
shit. And so it's actually quite damaging to our reporters who are honestly sticking their necks out in front of a very vindictive administration that's trying to indict people, that's trying to prosecute their enemies, that's threatening their political enemies. And so when we are doing a story that directly refutes the line of this Trump regime, honestly, it's dangerous for the staff here. And so when they are coming at us in that way and are trying to say you're lying, it's just so, it's honestly just so incredibly damaging to what we are all doing here.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't believe what we do here, even at the MeidasTouch Network, is like a job. Like I don't wake up and go, I'm going to work today. Like I view what we have as a mission. Okay. And I view this mission as life or death because this is how people are being impacted. Whether you have health care is life or death. Whether you can afford food is life or death. Whether you will be rained down on by shrapnel from munitions while you're driving is life or death. Whether you can be disappeared to a concentration camp is life or death. You know, these things have impacts on our lives. And so what this story was about, and much of our reporting, was giving a public safety warning as well. And I think because of that public safety warning that we gave, we got ahead of what the Trump regime was trying to do, which they wanted this to be like a sneak attack, right? They just wanted to do it during the No Kings. You could imagine what they were planning behind the scenes, right? Ha, 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 ha. Well, everybody's driving to No Kings. Boom, 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 boom. You start to have these missiles going over your head. And then that's their view of like intimidating the people of California. That's how they wanted to do it. So the story provided this public service, I think, of warning. And I think that's just an important part. And this stuff is life or death. I mean, look at when Donald Trump, I mean, just so our audio listeners know, we're showing you what it looked like, the munitions, what it looked like that exploded, where the shrapnel came. I mean, these are big munitions that come from these howitzers and other major weaponry that's used on the battlefield being shot over the highway. Okay, and as I say, this is life or death. Let me just give you some data points. As Donald Trump was returning from Mar-a-Lago, where he was golfing yet again on the taxpayer dime this weekend, he took a little press brief in the Air Force One, and let me show you some of the things that he was asked. So he was asked about the Hudson River Tunnel in New York City and other infrastructure projects in New York. Donald Trump has stolen, he's taken away about $20 billion that was promised to Manhattan for the tunnel and for other infrastructure projects that were critical to everything that, one of the biggest cities, if not the biggest city in the entire world. So let me show you what Donald Trump said when he was asked about this. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, sticking with New York City, you've talked about the Hudson River Tunnel, the infrastructure project. You said that the funding has been terminated, but, folks in New York have said that it's not terminated. So where does that stand?
Well, as of now, it's terminated, and that's up to me. And as of now, it's terminated, and it's terminated because the Democrats are so foolish what they've done to the country. I mean, we have the hottest country in the world. There's no country even close. And they just want to do this. There's nothing for them to do. All they have to do is just say, let everything continue. And I will say a lot of Democrats want this to get over.
So the administration right now is not sending funding?
Right now, there is no funding because it's up to me.
What is your response?
Right now, there is no funding because it's up to me. I'm going to damage Manhattan. I'm going to damage Boston and Chicago. And just think about it. These are the states and cities within the states that literally fund the red states. The red states are failures, by and large, utter failures, just like the regimes that Donald Trump worships. Javier Milei in Argentina, who needs a $40 billion bailout. Viktor Orban in Hungary. Red states are run like that. Failures, because they focus on their weirdo culture wars and their racism and their hate over logic and education and intelligence and running things smoothly. Yet they go, oh, we're the fiscal hawks, we're the smart one. No, absolutely not. You are the taker states. You're the leeches, okay? The blue states literally subsidize the red states that wouldn't be able to even exist. They'd be bankrupt without California and Los Angeles County, right? Without Boston, without Chicago, without these blue states and blue cities, they would be done. Yet they do this attack on blue states, yet they do this attack on blue cities. It is despicable conduct. So you have that. Then you have Donald Trump being asked, well, it looks like that ceasefire is falling apart in the Middle East. It seems that there have been missile strikes by Israel into South Gaza. Donald, what do you make of it, Donald? What do you think? Here, play this clip.
Do you feel that Israel was justified with striking when it did?
Striking where?
In Gaza. Today and overnight?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I'd have to get back.
What is the next step?
Because we're going to be determined. All of that's is under consideration right now. It's under review.
What? You don't know? No one told you what's happened? Based on different reporting, you can go by The Guardian's reporting, which talks about multiple violations of the ceasefire. You can go by Al Jazeera's reporting, which says that Israel has killed 97 Palestinians and wounded 230, committing 80 ceasefire violations since October 10th. According to the Gaza media office, The Guardian reports a slightly less amount than that, but still a significant amount of ceasefire violations taking place. Hamas has said they're not disarming. They've retaken control. As I mentioned at the outset of this episode, Netanyahu certainly not supporting a two-state solution. Hamas and Israel didn't even sign the agreement. Donald Trump doesn't even know the strikes are taking place right now. I just want you to, that was news to him. While he was out golfing or focusing on the ballroom, he didn't even know that that was taking place. Okay, well, what about your meeting with Zelenskyy? What about your meeting that took place end of last week? All of the reporting from the Financial Times and other reporters was that Donald Trump, after the cameras left, started screaming and cursing at Zelenskyy, showing Zelenskyy maps that were basically handed to Trump by Putin, where Putin views the borders to be, yelling at Zelenskyy, cursing at Zelenskyy, saying, listen, you mother effer, basically, you're going to give Putin back Donbass. You're going to give Putin back all of the land and you have no choice in this matter. Basically, we're not going to give you weapons. We're not going to sanction Russia. You're going to give Russia all of Donbass. Do you understand? Zelensky's like, nah, I'm not doing that. What are you talking about? That's unacceptable. So then Donald Trump was asked about that on the plane, and Donald Trump, then he lies about it, but he's like, even with his lie, he goes, no, Russia should keep all of the land that it has right now, and Ukraine just needs to accept that. And of course, Trump's not imposing sanctions on Russia, not giving long-range missiles. It was all BS. And it was part of Trump tormenting and torturing Ukraine in order to drag them along to try to hope that he could buy time for Putin so that Putin could make advances on the battlefield, which Putin hasn't. Oh, and then Donald Trump was spewing the Putin talking points to Zelenskyy. Putin's winning this war. You're losing. The Russia economy's thriving, which it's not. I think Putin was able to take an additional 1% of land at the cost of over 1 million Russian soldiers. But watch as Donald Trump's asked about Zelenskyy on the Air Force One trip back to D.C. Here, play this clip.
Yeah, Friday, you said you had a cordial meeting with President Zelenskyy. During that meeting, did you tell him he needed to cede all of the Donbass region to Russia?
No, we never discussed it. We think that what they should do is just stop at the lines where they are, the battle lines. You have a battle line right now. The rest is very tough to negotiate. If you're going to say, you take this, we take that, there's so many different permutations. So what I say is they should stop right now at the battle lines. Go home, stop killing people, and be done.
What do you think should happen with the Donbass region then?
Let it be cut the way it is. It's cut up right now. I think 78% of the land is already taken by Russia. You leave it the way it is right now. They can negotiate something later on down the line. But I said cut and stop at the battle line. Go home. Stop fighting. Stop killing people.
What do you think?
I would like to remind everybody on October 16, 2025, during the MeidasTouch podcast, we predicted exactly what was going to happen. I said, I know Trump's psychology. He spoke with Putin the day before the Zelenskyy meeting. I said, he's going to just push Putin's propaganda and it's going to be a disaster. I said, watch. I said, I could be wrong, but I know this guy's pathology. Here, play this clip of what I said on October 16th. Let's play it. He's meeting with Zelenskyy tomorrow. In many ways, though, I actually think it's not great timing because it's right after the Putin talk and Trump's still going to be feasting off the Putin talking points. Yeah. So I'll focus on what's going to happen there. But if I was betting, knowing Trump's psychology, I think that in pathology, I think it's not going to be a good meeting. And I say that because Trump seems to be emboldened by believing that he actually just brought peace to the Middle East, which he did not do. And I think he's going to go there and try to intimidate Zelenskyy in a way that I don't think people are. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, but I think I'm right about that one. I think I have a good sense of his pathology. I think it's just so important that, how did I know that? Right? I mean, it's obvious when you study what's actually happening, when you move away from the propaganda and the narratives, and you just focus on the facts, it's easy to see what's going to happen. How did we know that the ceasefire deal was going to fall apart in Gaza? Because it never existed to begin with. Like, I didn't think it was a difficult call for us to make that this was going to happen. Israel and Hamas didn't sign the agreement. Trump doesn't support a two-state solution. Hamas never agreed to disarm, right? Netanyahu doesn't support a two-state solution. So what is going to happen? Like, duh, like it's pretty obvious. I want to talk about that and more. I want to talk about what's going on with Colombia. I want to talk about what's going on with India. I want to talk about what the Court of Appeals ruled in the Ninth Circuit here. So we've got a lot to discuss. Just a reminder, everybody, make sure if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, you subscribe now. We're on our way to 6 million subscribers. Subscribe to our audio podcast as well, wherever you get audio podcasts, and leave a 5-star review. Please join and become a member of our YouTube channel and gift memberships to as many people as you can. When you gift memberships, it's a big help to grow our independent media platform. And there's lots of people who can't afford memberships. So if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford memberships, and you can gift memberships to others so they can access the exclusive content and the emojis, that would be a great gift, I think, to so many people right now. All right, let's take our last quick break of the show. We'll be right back.
You know what makes fall even better? Coffee. To be fair, it makes everything better. Whether it's pumpkin patches, apple orchards, or cozy sweaters, everything's better with coffee. And with Trade, you can explore roasts that fit your exact taste, from rich and bold to smooth and nutty. It's like having your own coffee shop tailored to you. I've been drinking this incredible single origin bag of Colombian coffee beans from a roaster called Equator Coffees in California. This bag was awarded 93 points at a 2025 coffee review. It's a medium light roast with notes of dates and cocoa, and the freshness is unbeatable. I love being able to see the roast dates right on the bags I receive, and the taste actually matches how incredible the coffee smells in the bag. You know I'm the resident coffee geek here at MeidasTouch, and I have very high standards. Well, Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the US for both hot and cold coffee drinkers. They partnered with over 50 top roasters nationwide, and if you love cold brew, they've even got a special collection with 15 roasters just for that. What I love most is how customizable it is. I never have to worry about running out of coffee or making a store run ever again. Plus, their prices are on par with grocery store brands, but the quality is next level and every purchase supports local roasters. Take their quiz. It only takes a minute. And if that first bag isn't quite right, Trade will replace it for free until they nail it. Right now, Trade is offering 50% off a 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/Meidas. That's drinktrade.com/Meidas to get 50% off 1 month. Again, that's drinktrade.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. You know, as the holidays creep up and schedules get packed, the last thing I want to stress over is dinner. That's why I love using Home Chef. With so many options delivered right to us, I can keep meals balanced and easy without wasting time on takeout or grocery runs. I recently had some of the best meals with Home Chef. I tried the Tuscan-style shrimp penne with mushrooms and tomatoes. It tasted like something out of a restaurant but came together in my own kitchen. I've also had Ramsay's brilliant truffle scallop risotto and Laura's favorite shrimp quesadilla. Every single dish has been a hit. Home Chef makes cooking simple. Fresh food delivered, easy recipes to follow, and meals that actually taste great. And here's something you need to know. Home Chef is rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. Whatever kind of day it is, classic recipes with fresh ingredients, 30-minute meals, oven-ready trays, or even quick microwave options, Home Chef has you covered. Plus, with over 30 meal options each week and a dedicated family menu, there is truly something for everyone. And I love that it's affordable too. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 a month on groceries. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off and free shipping for your first box, plus free dessert for life. Go to homechef.com/Meidas. That's homechef.com/Meidas for 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. Homechef.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert.
Ever have one of those moments where your body reminds you it's not 25 anymore? Maybe it's the slower recovery after a workout or the way your joints creak like an old floorboard. And don't get me started on how much worse it is in the winter. It's like my energy goes into hibernation. Aging is a reality for all of us, but our actions determine how we age. That's why I use Qualia Senolytic to help keep my cells healthy and my body feeling youthful. Zombie cells are real and they're aging you. These senescent cells stop being useful, but stick around, draining your energy, slowing recovery, and making you feel older than you are. Qualia Senolytic helps your body fight back against aging. It's a powerful, clinically tested formula with 9 vegan, plant-derived compounds that support your body's natural ability to eliminate zombie cells, so you can feel sharper, stronger, and more energized. Take it just 2 days a month. That's all it takes. Take Qualia Senolytic for just 2 days a month and start aging better at the cellular level. After adding Qualia Senolytic to my routine, I noticed the real difference. My energy feels steadier, recovery is quicker, and mentally I'm more dialed in. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Meidas for an additional 15%. That's qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in. Ooh, that's something happened in my throat there. In description of the YouTube and the audio. Please use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, what's the face for? Something was in my throat, man. I can't always help that. I can't speak flawlessly like you do on these great long rants. That's not me.
It's heavy. You're human, Jordy. That's why I love you.
Sometimes I get stuff in my throat, Ben.
I just make faces sometimes. I'm not.
That was like a face, like, oh, Jordan ruined the episode. He got the thing stuck in his throat. I saw the face.
Oh, it was a loving face. It was like, oh, that's so cute.
We'll do it live.
let's jump
Stays in the pod.
There's another aspect that I want to talk about the Zelenskyy meeting. So Zelenskyy did the morning rounds where he was on Meet the Press. I just want to show you this interaction he had with Kristen Welker, where Zelenskyy, I think, really powerfully stood up on behalf of Ukraine and said, yeah, Donald Trump's not being strong enough right now. I mean, just think about this as well. Lindsey Graham, you don't get more Trump sycophant than Lindsey Graham, MAGA Republican. Senator Thune, the Senate Majority Leader. They were all promising and expecting there were going to be sanctions on Russia. They said that Trump was going to put Putin and Russia on the terrorist list. Remember that when that was going down, that Ukraine was going to have delivered to them this week the Tomahawks and long-range weapons. Graham was saying that. Thune, all those Republican senators, yes, Trump's so tough on Russia. They've been very, very silent. But I want y'all to watch the framing of how Kristen Welker asks this question to Zelenskyy. And she frames it, Donald Trump was so tough in the Middle East, and he brought strength to bring Hamas and Israel together, and he bullied them to make this deal. Is that the same time? Is he being strong enough? And I'm thinking to myself, the whole premise of this question is wrong. Trump didn't bring strength to Israel and Hamas. Israel and Hamas didn't sign the agreement. Both have very different interpretations of the fake agreement because they didn't sign it. Hamas believes it doesn't need to disarm, that it's still going to control Gaza, that all it had to do was return the hostages, and that it would be able to maintain control in Gaza. It returned the hostages, and so it said we're still in charge right now. Israel said that it believed that there's not going to be a two-state solution, that it was going to continue to carry out strikes against Hamas, that it would strike the tunnels. It's starting to close humanitarian aid. There's a very different view here. So it's easy to make deals when you just make fake ones. Like the central issue, right, in the Middle East, as it relates to Israel and the Palestinians, is a two-state solution, right? The whole difficulty in getting a deal done. Biden was able to return 83% of the hostages. Let me be very clear. It's a great thing that we got the remaining hostages returned, that there was an exchange of individuals, and that individuals were able to go back to their respective places, and that the hostages were returned to Israel from October 7th. That's great. The idea of a ceasefire, if it works out, is a great thing. I'm not trying to be like a hater on ceasefires. Just the fundamental issue, though, is there going to be a free Palestine next to an Israel, free Israel, side by side? And they each have very different views of that. So if you don't address that fundamental question, how are you saying there's a peace deal? But yet this is the narrative that exists because Trump said so. Anyway, play this clip of Welker.
Okay. Part of President Trump's success with Israel and Hamas was that he applied pressure to all sides. Does President Trump need to get tougher with President Putin?
Yes, and even more, because Putin is something similar, but more strong than Hamas. It's more bigger war. And he is the second army in the world, and that's why more pressure.
And the issue is, Trump told Israel what it wanted to hear. He told Hamas what it wanted to hear. Neither side had to sign anything. He wanted to go to Egypt to spike the football. He praised Egypt as like a place that he was acting like was better than like Chicago or New York or places in California. And like, let's just be clear on the fact. I'll give you just another example, and then we'll talk about some domestic developments as well. Like India now says today, Donald Trump never had a conversation with their Prime Minister Modi at all, as it relates to Modi saying that he was not going to buy any more oil from Russia, that he would stop buying from oil from Russia immediately. So last week, Trump held a press conference where he just made up a fake conversation that didn't exist. Trump goes, I'm going to break news. I just spoke with Modi, and Modi told me He's not going to buy any more oil from Russia. Now, it's also counterintuitive because Donald Trump at that same time was saying that Hungary can buy its oil from Russia because he likes Viktor Orban. So, and he goes, that's because they're not by any port. So, of course, they can take the oil from Russia, which actually makes no sense at all. But Trump made up a fake conversation, and Modi and the foreign minister there had to say, no, they didn't even talk, yet alone talk about this topic. I just want you to think he's making up fake conversations. He's making up fake deals. He's talking about $20 trillion that we brought in that doesn't exist while he's bulldozing the White House. It's a fake. It didn't happen. So let me just show you what he said. So you've seen just the article, Modi's people saying no conversation took place at all. And Modi never said he was going to do anything because they didn't talk. But here's what Trump said happened. Here, play this clip.
We have a great relationship. No, we were not happy with him buying oil from Russia because that lets Russia continue on with this ridiculous war where they've lost 1.5 million people, by the way. Russia's lost 1.5 million people, soldiers mostly. This is a war that should have never started, but it's a war that Russia should have won in the first week, and they're going into the 4th year. And I want to see it stop. So I was not happy that India was buying oil. And he assured me today that they will not be buying oil from Russia. That's a big stop. And he's assured me there will be no oil purchased from Russia. I don't know, maybe that's a breaking story. Can I say that? Would you say? There will be no oil. He's not buying his oil from Russia. It started. You know, you can't do it immediately. It's a little bit of a process. But the process is going to be over with soon.
Guys, gals, everybody. As Modi said, there was not even a call that took place between them. Everything Donald Trump just said was a made-up fake call. I mean, this is serious stuff. You know, it's why I go back to at the beginning of this episode. The guy's just making up things. We brought in $20 trillion. Had conversations with Modi. Everything out of his mouth is a lie. And it has severely weakened the United States of America. Just give you another example. Danish intelligence services, they've announced we're not providing any more intelligence to the United States. We're cutting the U.S. off. They said that publicly. The Dutch General Intelligence and Security Services and Military Intelligence and Security Services said they ain't doing it at all. Sorry, the Dutch, to be clear. They said they ain't doing it, but others are doing it as well. And I guarantee you, even though others may not have made the announcement, that you have who would share intelligence with Donald Trump when he then speaks to Putin and probably tells him all the stuff. Like you can't share this intelligence with the United States right now. It's sad. It's
in fact, I had heard when, in the conversation with Zelenskyy, which, I mean, you couldn't have, you hit the nail on the head with that one. I heard that he was telling, that he did actually tell Putin when he spoke to Putin before the call with Zelenskyy, all the things that Zelenskyy was requesting. Like he wants X amount of tomahawks. He wants this. He wants that. Should I do it? Should I do it, Vladimir? And so like he literally is quite literally sharing this important information of global affairs of our allies with our enemies, with our adversaries. And it's so incredibly dangerous. And the fact that this guy is graded on such a curve, like I think that Kristen Welker video really sums it up. Like when you showed it to me earlier and I watched it for the first time because I hadn't seen it, I was like, what the F was that? Like, what the hell is that? Like Donald was so powerful and that's how he solved it. And there's this bizarro, like a narrative that's out there. And I've seen this, by the way, on both the right, and I've also seen this kind of in corners of the left as well, that goes, see, Donald Trump, he just showed strength and he bullied them into action. And now there's peace in the Middle East. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. I think this lasted a shorter period of time than the Biden ceasefires that happened. And you're giving him this odd credit, like for what reason? He didn't solve anything. It's status quo right now. People are dying. There are attacks every day. Nothing's changed. Yes, very glad the hostages are home, obviously, as we said repeatedly. But the situation on the ground right now is still incredibly precarious. It's very dangerous there. Nothing has been solved. Yet the media continues to grade this guy on such a freaking curve. It is just absolutely batshit insane. Like this would normally maybe even be like an exaggeration for me to say, but I could say, He could literally be pooping on the American people, and they would still praise him for it. And I would say that because literally he did that this weekend, and they've been basically ignoring that whole story. It's just absolutely crazy. This guy is lying about everything. And the media, people out there, anybody who's paying attention need to wake up to the fact that you don't, with Donald Trump, it's not, there's that phrase that Reagan had, trust but verify. There ain't no trust here, okay? Whatever Donald Trump says, you have to assume it is complete and total bullshit until you hear otherwise. If you hear otherwise, if you get corroborating information that he's telling the truth on whatever the issue is, great. But you have to assume that everything he is saying is a complete and total lie. He's making up conversations. He is lying about that people love us in the world. He's lying about peace. He's lying about what's happening in Ukraine over and over and over again. He lied about that. He promised, he swore, oh yes, this ballroom is being paid for by corporations or by me. And then it was being paid for by corporations. And then the White House structure itself will not be touched at all. Everything he says, it's a lie, and he's able to get away with it because there's like no scrutiny on this guy. Is everyone just freaking afraid of him? Like what the heck? Like what are we doing here? He's a loser. Like wake up to the fact that this guy is a loser.
Yeah, I think your hunch is right. I think a lot of these folks are scared of him, and specifically scared that they're going to get called a mean name in a Truth Social. Like that's how fragile a lot of their egos are. I'm not going to make this a Kristen Welker thing. I didn't think Meet the Press could get any worse. Once Chuck Todd left, I thought, okay, it's only up from here.
You're making it a Chuck Todd thing.
Well, maybe, but boy, was I wrong. I mean, that show is unwatchable. That clip either, Brett, until you just played it. Why? Because that show is unwatchable. And it's my same gripe I have with CNBC. And don't worry, I'm not going to make this a Joe Kernan thing either. It is so much of America watches this stuff because they're not as politically engaged. And so I'm going to catch up on the news. What did I miss this week? Oh, this seems harmless, a harmless program here. Let me watch it. And then they get fed this spin, this needless desire to bend over backwards to both sides, every single issue, to make yourself look like you're being so bipartisan with your coverage where, no one could ever fault me. When the sky is blue and the MAGA Republicans say it's orange, you don't say it's an in-between shade of blue and orange. You have to just call it what it is. You have to call balls and strikes. So the framing that we see so many times from the corporate media, the legacy media, the Meet the Presses of the world is this weird reflex to just try and take MAGA framing and mush it in with maybe with what's going on over here and what's going on over here and make this weird hybrid to give to the American people versus just giving folks the news. And that's why I thank you, the listener, you, the viewer of the MeidasTouch Network, because you made this network the #1 publisher, because you love the facts, you love the data, you love the truth, you love the receipts that we all bring to this every single day.
And here's the thing I want to add, Jordy. The American people are waking up, even if these legacy media channels don't want to acknowledge it. I also want to remind everybody that more people in this past election voted against Donald Trump than voted for him. He tries to claim this whole big mandate. Those Republicans try to show maps where they draw on a lot of red on all the land, not the people, but the land in the country. And they say, look at this mandate dominate. Never was true to begin with. First off, total bullshit. But you could even look right now at the tides shifting. First off, I know all you who were at the No Kings protests, you saw the energy at those protests. You saw how many people showed up. But we're seeing it reflected in the data as well. We're seeing it reflected in Donald Trump's lowest approval rating, something at 37% in the aggregate, just absolutely abysmal approval ratings. We're seeing it in these new Gallup polls that were just released, showing a huge vibe shift. And this is a big deal because this was something before the election that Republicans were hyping as a big shift in this country, because the data in the third quarter of the United States showed party identification in the United States moved to Democrat +7. I want to remind you that last year, Republicans actually overtook Democrats in these pollings, meaning that they were saying that more people in the country were identifying as Republicans than Democrats. And this was a big talking point that was parroted over and over and over again, saying, look at the rise of the Republicans. The Republicans Republicans are gaining in popularity nationally. We have never really seen this before. Well, that has shifted in a big way. By those who were able to see the graph, you could see how those lines intersect. You could see that massive shift. And you could go through the list, down, the last few quarters, the last few years. You see how dramatic of a shift this is. And we're all witnessing this together. I think people are fed up with this. They're fed up with the attacks on the American people, the attacks on free speech. This government that we have right here is a regime. They're acting like authoritarians. They don't want you to call them that. They don't want you to call them out. They want to try to silence your voice and intimidate you. They want to try to intimidate you from not protesting, from not showing up at these rallies. They want to try to call you names. They want to try to treat you like you are less than, because that is part of the way they want to hold on to power. They know that, by the way, they are petrified of the protests that happened over the weekend. It was a show of force by the American people, and it was a show of force using love. It was a show of force using actual patriotism and the actual values of the United States of America on display out there. And that's why they are so eager to try to shift the narrative. That's why you saw Mike Johnson go out there with his despicable speeches and call these protests against America. Like, how disgraceful. I'll just show you this clip of Mike Johnson, just so you get a sense of the kind of messaging they're doing post No Kings.
Chuck Schumer's political survival. Now, I noted on Friday, the lead organizer of the rallies this weekend issued an open threat to Democrats. Quote, "The cavalry is coming in on October 18th, and they're either going to be celebrating with you, or they're going to be calling for new leadership." Now that's a direct threat to Chuck Schumer, and he heard the message. And so did Hakeem Jeffries in the House. And that's why neither of them were here doing their jobs. Instead, they were out in New York and California. They were catering to the same radical base that is just days away from electing an open Marxist as mayor of New York City. And now that Chuck Schumer has had his spectacle, he's had his big protest against America, this is our plea. We're asking, and I think everybody in this room and everybody watching, listening to our voices this morning should be hoping that he is finally now ready to go to work and end this shutdown and stop inflicting pain on the American people.
Just the lying, the bloviating, the propaganda that comes out of this regime, that comes out of the speaker's office. We've seen lying in politics. Obviously, that's a staple in politics that I think we're all used to. I don't think we're used to our government being turned into North Korea or Russia, and that is exactly what Mike Johnson is doing. And he is honestly a disgrace to this country. The things he is saying about all of you should enrage you, should make you mad. But the fact is, you showing up at these protests, being peaceful, standing up for the actual values of this country. I mean, there's no more American notion that you could possibly think of than no kings. Our country was founded on no kings. And for them to act like the idea of no kings is anti-American shows that they don't understand the first damn thing about what this country is all about.
Look, MAGA Mike Johnson ordered all of the MAGA Republicans to go home and not show up to work. And Democrats have consistently been showing up to Washington, D.C. to try to negotiate with Republicans. And we're going to negotiate what? To protect people's health care from people losing their health care, right? I mean, the Affordable Care Act subsidies are about to expire, and that's going to result in a massive spike in people's healthcare costs, and people are going to go medically bankrupt. They're not going to be able to afford their healthcare. That's what this is about. It's about protecting people's healthcare that MAGA Republicans refuse to do. And they're not talking to Democrats. Forget negotiating. They're not even like speaking with them. They're not even showing up to work. So for him saying, "Oh, they need to be here," you literally shut down. You shut this down, MAGA Mike. Like it's crazy stuff. Before going, though, we have to address a serious story as well. And it's not great news. It's bad news. Although we'll see what the full en banc, as it's called, panel of the Ninth Circuit does, which means all of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal judges are going to weigh in on this. So the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, which sits over Illinois, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Donald Trump's invasion of Chicago was unlawful under the statute section 124063. And the Seventh Circuit said Donald Trump can't just make up fake facts to justify military invasions of cities, that courts have a role to address what Donald Trump is saying, if it's true or false, right? the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, which is generally viewed to be like, if you're using generalities, the Ninth Circuit is usually viewed as actually more liberal, but that's not necessarily the case because Trump in his first regime, first administration, appointed a lot of Trump-appointed judges who are on the Ninth Circuit. They ruled the opposite. So you have a circuit split. Seventh Circuit said Trump can't make up his own facts. National Guard can invade Chicago. Seventh Circuit sits above the district court judge there. They've all agreed. In Portland, Oregon, you had a Trump-appointed judge who ruled against Donald Trump, saying Trump can't invade in Portland, Oregon. And the judge said, I have a role as a federal judge, even though I'm a Trump-appointed judge, to see that the facts are what the facts are. And Trump can't make up facts and say this is a war zone to justify invoking Section 124063. The Trump-appointed judge said, nope, I'm ruling that Trump can't send the National Guard into Portland, Oregon. It's not a war zone, Trump's line. So then that gets appealed to the next level, which is the Ninth Circuit. And the panel that was assigned, and it's usually random, 2 Trump judges, 1 Clinton judge. And the 2 Trump judges said Trump can do whatever he wants. That's actually their ruling. And the Clinton judge says, no, he can't do whatever he wants. Just so you see, I'm not making it up. What the Trump-appointed judges say is that the statute that Trump used to invoke to bring the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, it says Section 12406 contains no limitations. Instead, by its plain text, it just requires a determination that the president is unable with regular force to execute the laws of the United States. And then it says the statute delegates the authority to make that determination to the president, and does not limit the facts and circumstances that the president may consider in doing so. Indeed, the inherently subjective nature of this evaluation demonstrates that the president has the authority to identify and weigh the relevant facts under Section 124063. So they say, even though we don't actually think it's war ravage, this is a direct line from the ruling. They go, we don't think it's war ravage, but they go, it doesn't matter. If Trump says it's war ravaged, we have to defer to whatever it is that he says. That's literally in the ruling. So then the dissent from the Clinton-appointed judge says, we have come to expect a dose of political theater in the political branch's drama designed to rally the base or to rile or intimidate political opponents. We also may expect there is a measure of bending, sometimes breaking the truth. By design of the founders, the judicial branch stands apart. We rule on the facts, not on supposition or conjecture, and certainly not on fabrication or propaganda. I urge my colleagues on this court to act swiftly to vacate the majority's order before the illegal deployment of troops under false pretense can occur. Above all, I ask those who are watching this case unfolding to retain full faith in our judicial system for just a little longer. So what this Clinton-appointed judge is saying is this is going to go to the full Ninth Circuit now, not just a 3-judge panel, to the en banc panel, basically all the judges. And this judge is saying, please, Ninth Circuit, you can't just do what the majority did here. I'm dissenting powerfully and saying it can't be that the president can make up whatever they claim the reality is, even if we know it's false, as the majority did. I just want you to think about that. That means we have no laws. We have no constitution. We have no anything. If what the judges are going to say is the president gets to make up the reality, because that's what the majority said here, literally is what they said. Even though we don't think it's war ravage, Trump says it's war ravage, it's subjective, we defer to you. That's what Trump has argued to the Supreme Court as well, based on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals ruling against him on that issue. And just if the Supreme Court eventually rules that, yeah, you get to make up your facts, you can do anything. You can make up anything, and there's no point of laws. There's no point of the Constitution. And I think, I'll conclude with this, that's what the American people think. That shouldn't be a Democratic view or a Republican view or an independent view. No kings. I mean, the very aspect of our country, why we have a Declaration of Independence listing the grievances against the crown, against the king, is no kings. We declare our independence from that. What our Constitution is premised on is no kings. So to me, you talk about all of this. I remember when I was in law school, originalist theory and what did the founders think, and what could be more fundamental to what the founders thought than no kings? And so imbued in the Constitution, in the amendments, in articles, in the various articles, is this truth, right? That no kings, that's what we're based on. So I leave you with that. And I think that's what the American people feel most importantly. I think that should be what the Democrats' message is going into the midterms. No kings. Simple. It boils it down. No kings, no crowns, no kings since 1776. That's it. And I leave you with that message. So we covered a lot today. Boy, did we cover a lot today. Very comprehensive episode. We'll be doing hot takes throughout. I want to cover this breaking news story with a person named Gonzalez out of Uvalde, the MAGA Republican who allegedly had this affair with his staffer who burned herself to death, self-immolated herself. And then there seemed to be like a cover-up of the circumstances of her death in September. He was married. She was married at the time. And when this was reported, they said it was no foul play. And then Gonzalez's staff came out with a statement, or Gonzalez himself came out with a statement, how tragic this is. We don't know anything about it. It seems that the Uvalde police may be covering it up. So I'm going to be doing a lot more stories on that, but I wanted to at least address it at the end of the episode. It's a developing story. I want to make sure we have all the facts. It's important that we're diligent, especially on a story like that. But we'll keep you posted here on the MeidasTouch Network with everything. Thanks everybody who showed up or got the word out about No Kings. Make sure you join, become a member, let other people become members as well. Gift membership, subscribe on audio. Check out our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. We appreciate you as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.